All right, hello, and thank you for boarding the Triv train today. Please have a seat as we take this train across the country to discover some more interesting facts about our US presidents. In this trivia game, this will be set up just like multiple choice. I will read off the question and the four possible answers, then provide a 5-second timer on the bottom right hand corner before revealing that answer, and I will also include some additional information about each president that might be some good facts for you to help train and prepare for your next trivia event at your local restaurant or brewery or pub or wherever you and your friends like to hang out and play trivia at. All right, let's get started with question number 1. Who was the first president to live in the White House? Was it George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, or James Madison? The correct answer is that is John Adams, him and his wife Abigail, when they moved in, and then since that time, each president has made their own changes and additions to the White House. Next question. Which president officially named the building the White House? Was it Grover Cleveland, William Taft, Ulysses Grant, or Theodore Roosevelt? The correct answer is Theodore Roosevelt. He named it the White House in 1901. Who was the first president to be born a U.S. citizen? Was it Andrew Jackson, Martin Van Buren, William Henry Harrison, or John Quincy Adams? The correct answer is it's Martin Van Buren. He was also the only president where English was his second language. How many children did George Washington have? 0, 3, 5, or 9? The correct answer is he actually had 0 children. He raised 2 children with Martha Washington from a previous marriage, as well as some grandchildren and some nieces and nephews, but George Washington did not have any children. Next question. Which president spent the shortest amount of time in office? Was it William Henry Harrison, Chester A. Arthur, Theodore Roosevelt, or Franklin D. Roosevelt? The correct answer is William Henry Harrison. He was the 9th president of the United States, and he died 31 days after his inauguration in 1841. Which state has produced the most U.S. presidents? Is it the state of Illinois, Texas, New York, or Virginia? The correct answer is that it's the state of Virginia. 8 presidents came from there: George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, James Monroe, William Henry Harrison, John Taylor, Zachary Taylor, and Woodrow Wilson. What kind of farm did President Jimmy Carter famously own before he became president? Was it a farm for corn, dairy, wheat, or peanut? The correct answer is he had a peanut farm that he put into a blind trust in 1976 when he became a president. Next question. Which president was known by the Secret Service code name Rawhide? Was it Franklin D. Roosevelt, Ronald Reagan, George W. Bush, or Franklin Pierce? The correct answer is Ronald Reagan. The Secret Service codename Rawhide belonged to the 40th President of the United States, Ronald Reagan. Who is the only president to leave the White House and then return for a second term 4 years later? Was it Benjamin Harrison, Franklin Pierce, James Garfield, or Grover Cleveland? The correct answer is Grover Cleveland. After the Civil War in 1885, he was our 22nd and 24th president. Which founding father was also the smallest U.S. president? Was it Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, James Madison, or John Adams? The correct answer is James Madison. He stood at 5 feet 4 inches as the shortest president. We all know the tallest was Abraham Lincoln. So, true or false? James Polk loved to dance. The correct answer is actually false. Him and his wife Sarah were actually known for being quite boring and dull, but he is the 11th U.S. president. Next question. Which president owned about 80 different pairs of pants? Was it Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, Chester A. Arthur, or Bill Clinton? The correct answer is Chester Arthur. He was known as Elegant Arthur because he changed his clothes many times a day. Next question. Which president liked to have fun by walking on stilts? Was it George Washington, William Henry Harrison, Grover Cleveland, or Theodore Roosevelt? The correct answer was Theodore Roosevelt. In fact, his whole family owned their individual pair of stilts. So they all loved the stilts. Which president built a one-lane bowling alley in the White House? Was it Dwight D. Eisenhower, Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan, or George H.W. Bush? The correct answer is Richard Nixon. He actually had a one-lane bowling alley built in 1973. True or false? Gerald Ford served as vice president and president without being elected to either office. The correct answer is that was true. He did it right after Nixon resigned, and he assumed the presidency, and it made him the only person to become the nation's chief executive without being elected to the presidency or vice presidency. All right, which president first became well known as an actor in Hollywood? Was it Franklin Delano Roosevelt, John F. Kennedy, Jimmy Carter, or Ronald Reagan? The correct answer is that was Ronald Reagan. He was an actor and politician before becoming the 40th president of the United States. He served from 1981 to 1989. Which of the following presidents was ambidextrous? Was it Rutherford B. Hayes, James Garfield, Theodore Roosevelt, or Woodrow Wilson? The correct answer was James Garfield. He actually wrote in Greek with one hand, and then he could write in Latin with the other. Who is the only president to have run an official marathon? Was it George Washington, William Taft, Gerald Ford, or George W. Bush? The correct answer is that is George W. Bush. He ran the Houston Marathon in 1993. All right. Who is the only president to be elected 4 times? Was it George Washington, Alexander Hamilton, Franklin D. Roosevelt, or Ulysses S. Grant? The correct answer is Franklin D. Roosevelt. He served in 1932, 1936, 1940, and 1944. Which president was known by the nickname Old Hickory? Was it George Washington, Andrew Jackson, Zachary Taylor, or Theodore Roosevelt? The correct answer is Andrew Old Hickory Jackson. He got that name from his troops after crushing the British in the Battle of New Orleans during the War of 1812, and he is our 7th President of the United States. Alright, who is the only president to hold a PhD? Is it Bill Clinton, Woodrow Wilson, Dwight D. Eisenhower, or Calvin Coolidge? The correct answer is Woodrow Wilson, the only one with a PhD in history. Not just in history, but he had a PhD in history. Alright, a known animal lover, Theodore Roosevelt and his family kept numerous types of pets at the White House. Which of the following was not one of them? A raccoon, a zebra, a black bear, or a hyena? The correct answer is he did not have a raccoon, but he did have a lot of animals, including a zebra, a parrot, bears, a lion, a hyena, a coyote, rats, and a one-legged rooster. Who is the only president to never marry? Was it Martin Van Buren, Thomas Jefferson, James Buchanan, or Andrew Jackson? The correct answer is a lifelong bachelor, James Buchanan. Who is the only president to go on to serve onto the U.S. Supreme Court? Was it William Howard Taft, Harry S. Truman, Andrew Jackson, or Franklin Pierce? The correct answer is William Howard Taft. He became the 10th Chief Justice of the United States, and he is the 27th President. Alright guys, well hey, thanks for playing and boarding the Triv train today. I hope this trivia helps you train for your next event. If any presidential questions come up, you should be prepared and ready. Next stop, a beautiful day, and I hope you enjoy it, and thanks again for playing. Again, of course, please like, please subscribe, it really helps. And if you have any themes coming up, please let me know. I would love to help you guys out and make a show for you. Alright, thanks, bye.